a challenge of finishing at least till the Vipralabdha sections so that, we can spend some time tomorrow on some of the important sections like Yahi Madhava and some of those other sections. So you'll have to really go fast today. So yesterday we started with the argument of why Act 2 is called Aklesha Keshava. We started with that and it was very hurried, so we couldn't finish that section. Klesha is angst or, some kind of a turmoil. When Radha is going through so much turmoil in the very first song of that act, why is he calling it Aklesha Keshava? Because it is not Krishna who's filled with the klesha, it is Radha. And Krishna is Ishvara. So he is actually klesha rahita. He doesn't have any klesha. So at that point, he has to establish Krishna as the light of the yajna. So we went through the Mangalacharan section. So we did the Dashavatara, which is the deity of worship. Shritakamalah Kucha, which is who's the deity of the Antaryamin or the meditative deity. We did the Pushpanjali, where the preparation happened for the, to enter into the yaga or the yajna. And now the next component that is required is light or fire or light, something without which you cannot start the process, the proceedings of the yajna. So in Sancharadadhara, he establishes Krishna as light in that section. So that is why he starts with the idea of Aklesha Keshava. So here you have the Bhagavan of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Bhagavata Puran, as we talk about him. He has two very uncommon characteristics. One is called Akhila Heya Pratyanikatva. Akhila Heya Pratyanikatva. That is being beyond all material imperfections. That he has no connection with any type of painful misfortunes or calamities. He is Pratyanika, the formidable foe of all defects. Basically, that is what he is. So the Yoga Sutras also state, Klesha Karma Vipakashayir, you can write it down from the recording, Aparamrushtaha Purusha Vishesha Ishvaraha. This is what the Yoga Sutras state. That is, a person who has no relationship to defects like ignorance, false egotism, attachment, aversion, fear of death, consequences or reactive components is called Ishvara. So he's the master there. The second guna he has is called Akhila Kalyana Gunakaratva. So you will find this term, in Tarangams and everywhere, Akhila Kalyana Gunakara. So this keeps repeating in some of the, Bhakti literature also. It means that Sri Krishna is the benefactor of the entire creation. And he is the mine of all supernatural virtues. So that is why he is Ishvara and therefore he is Aklesha or untouched by any kind of a klesha. Here he needs to establish him in that context. So he, calls him that here. So in Sancharadadhara, you will see that the Smarana idea starts, not in Haririha, it starts here. Now, what is the idea of Smarana? As I told you, there are three stages, Smarana, Spurti and Avirbhava. These are the three stages he establishes in the next three songs. So what is Smarana? To resolve the duality of Sambhoga Vipralambha all the time, Jayadeva uses, this, it's an aesthetic device which he uses. It's called Smarana or Smara. Smara is also Madana or Smriti. He uses this factor. And this aspect is not just Jayadeva, it has been dramatized, earlier by Kalidasa and others also in their plays like Abhigyana Shakuntalam, where Abhinavagupta, the greatest commentator of the Natya Shastra, when he talks about the rasa theory, he talks about this idea of smarana or smriti, and he says that is why it is a major epithet of Madana. He's called Smara because this device is used by the poets to create rasa. Dushyanta forgets Shakuntala, and through smarana, through the memory of a certain music or a ring, or through certain memory or through recollection, he again unites with her. At different places, we can see this smarana being used as a link between the past and the present, as a link between Sambhoga and Vipralambha. So we keep seeing this very often. So in Sanskrit poetry, actually the act of remembering, it's a conventional technique for reconciling the Vipralambha and Sambhoga idea. And throughout Vaishnava literature, memory or smarana is recognized as a way of knowing or understanding Krishna. Always, throughout. In the Bhagavata Puran also, when the cowherdesses, when they accuse Krishna of cruelty, he answers, he says, my disappearance is only a veil through which I draw in order to nourish your yearning and love for me by separation. So he makes that statement there. Now, Jayadeva uses memory or smarana as a complex set of, processes, mental processes that motivates the actions of Radha towards Krishna and Krishna towards Radha. Because whenever they are both apart, they are constantly in smarana. They're constantly using the technique of smarana to be connected with each other. So that is the interesting part of it. And you can see that in the beginning, in the intent itself, he uses the word smarana. Yadi Hari Smarane Sarasam Mano. So if you want to remember Krishna constantly, you must listen to the song of Jayadeva. So everywhere he uses this connection. And, you can also see that, even in the Atharvana Veda, right from the Vedic time, in the Atharvana Veda also, there are some verses which talk about certain mantras by which you send memory to vanquish a man of your desire. So, those are called smaras, or they are called smaranas. So you can see how smarana is a very important part of the whole idea here. And that is why here in Sancharadadhara, smarana is predominant. She is remembering him in multiple ways. Now, to really go fast today, we won't look at every one of the charanams, but just to establish to you the idea, why I'm saying that Sancharadadhara establishes the idea of light. So use light and Krishna. These are the two connections that you'll find in Sancharadadhara. So it starts with Sancharadadhara Sudha Madhuradhvani Mukarita Mohana Vamsham Valita Druganchala Chanchala Mauli Kapola Vilola Vatamsham Rase Harimiha Vihita Vilasam Smarati Mano Mama Kruta Parihasam. See where the word comes in. Okay, so it establishes the idea of smarana. So she says, how astonishing is it that in this Rasa festival, or in this festival of Rasa, he has abandoned me and he's amusing himself with all these other, beautiful women. But despite this, again and again in my heart, I remember him. He fills the flute resting in his lotus hands with the nectar of his lips. Sancharad Adhara Sudha Madhurat Dhvani. So he fills the flute with the nectar of his lips. Nectar that streams forth as melody, as sweet melody. When he glances flirtatiously from the corners of his eyes, his jeweled headdress quivers as his earrings swing against his cheeks. Over and over, I remember Hari's attractive complexion, his laughter, and his amusing behavior. So right in the beginning, she talks about Chanchala Mauli Kapola Vilola Vatamsham. So here she's establishing the idea of the rasa. The first is the refraction of the kundalas. That itself is creating light, and that light is falling on his kapola or on his cheeks. Those are the first sparks of light you see in Sancharadadhara. Okay, then it goes further where she says, Chandraka Charu Mayura Shikhandaka Mandala Valaita Kesham Prachura Purandara Dhanu Ranuranjita Medura Mudira Suvesham. His hair is adorned with a charming array of peacock feathers fashioned in a striking half-moon design. Okay. The luster is like a mass of refreshing rain clouds, colorfully shot through by an unending succession of brilliant rainbows. You see where the light is coming from? Now, the concept of the peacock feather is, or the peacock, the circular pattern at the end of the peacock feather is called the Chandraka. That circular thing that you see on the top of the peacock feather, it is named the Chandraka. Chandraka, like the moon Chandrama, it also gives luster and joy. But the peacock feather idea stands for the sun, actually, because of the multiple rainbow colors, which are a direct reflection of the concept of the Vibgyor. So this Harita in the middle and the four, the Krishna and the Radha thing that I will discuss, the ultraviolet zone and the infrared zone. We will talk about that also as an idea of light. We'll talk about it soon, not right now. But the concept of the peacock feather is also the concept of the sun, but the shape is the concept of the moon. So you will see in every charadam that it alternates between sun, moon, sun, moon, sun, moon as light. Krishna is either of the two. So here you already have seen the idea of light, where the rain clouds are there, the luster is there, the rainbows are going through the peacock feathers, which is a symbol of the sun in the shape of the moon. So that is how he describes it. And then he says, in the festival of Ananga, he leans forward, desiring to kiss the lotus faces of the cowherd girls. His tender lips are an enchanting soft reddish color like the bud of a bandhuka flower. And the unprecedented luster of his smile spreads across his handsome face. This Hari constantly appears in my mind, she says. Now you look at this imagery. What is bandhuka? Bandhuka pushpa is a midday flower. It blooms only at 12 in the afternoon. It's a morning flower. It blooms only when the sun appears. In the Suryashtakam, you have a sentence which says Bandhuka pushpa sankasham harakundala bhushitam. So the Surya or the sun is connected to the Bandhuka flower. Eka chakradharam devam tam suryam pranamamyaham. You have that in the Suryashtakam. He's compared to the Bandhuka. Even Ganesha forms, actually the Krishna Ganesha is described as glowing brilliantly like the Bandhuka flower. Now you just juxtapose Krishna as the Bandhuka and you look at the idea again. In the festival of Ananga, he leans forward, desiring to kiss the lips of the lotus-like women. What is he establishing? The sun is coming and the lotuses are blooming. So here again, Krishna is being established as the sun only, because of the reference to Bandhuka and the position also. He is looming over them like how the sun looms over the lotuses. There again, there is the reference to light. Then look at the next charadam. Vipula pulaka bhuja pallava valaita vallava yuvati sahasram. Kara charanorasi mani gana bhushana kirana vibhinna tamisram. Now he's directly saying it. What is he saying? The hair on Hari's body rises up in joy when his arms, delicate as blossoms, embrace thousands and thousands of beautiful gopikas. The rays of light which are emitted by the jeweled ornaments of his hands and his feet and his chest illuminate all directions. Again, there is the reference to light. But what is the word he uses? Kirana vibhinna tamisram. So all the tamas or all the timira or all the darkness that is around, he's completely destroying all that darkness with the light that is emitting from his ornaments and his chest and his body. Once again, the reference to the dispelling of darkness here. Now the next one you see. Every single one will give you that idea only. Jalada patala valadindu vinindaka chandana tilakalalatam Peena payodhara parisara mardana nirdhana hrudaya kavatam. The captivating sandal paste tilaka on his forehead defeats the loveliness of the fickle moon. So now he's the moon. Now he's the sun. Now he's the moon. It keeps changing between the sun and the moon. So now this sandal paste that he's wearing is much brighter, more lustrous than the moon. So it looks like a moon which is amidst a thick bank of fresh rain clouds, which is like his hair. And with his broad chest firm as a door. So he says the chest is as firm as a door, which cannot be broken, which cannot be opened, because he's Aklesha right now. He's not going to listen to your appeal because he's light. This inflicts pain upon the full bosoms of the young girls because they are hitting against him, but he's light, so they cannot really get him. So this again, the reference is to the light idea. And then you see Manimaya Makara Manohara Kundala. Now you'll see the connection. Every charanam will have the same idea. Mandita Gandamudaram Pita Vasana Manugata Muni Manuja Surasura Vara Parivaram. The beauty of the cheeks is enhanced by the enchanting jewel-studded Makara Kundalas. So now the light of the kundalas is falling on the cheek, and the yellow pitambara that Madhuripu is wearing, it is so resplendent that it is not just attracting human beings. It is attracting gods, demons, sages, and human beings, everyone. The entire retinue. So his Pita Vasana, Anugata, Muni, Manuja, Sura, Asura, Vara Parivaram, everyone it is attracting. So this Premarasa is felt by Narada among sages, Bhishma among humans, Prahalada among the demons, Indra among gods. That is what, Urupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that so many people have felt the brightness of his Pitambara. So if you talk about gods, it is Narada. If you talk about sages, it's Narada. Humans, it's Bhishma. Among the demons, it's Prahalada, and Indra among the gods. So all of them are equally attracted to this light. Vishada kadamba tale militam kali kalusha bhaya shamayantam mamapi kimapi taranga dananga drusha manasa ramayantam. Arriving beneath the expansive kadamba tree in full bloom, he would wait for me and glance around in anticipation. When we would meet, he would fully dispel all my fears of separation. Again, there is a concept, the idea of dispelling, by reassuring me with clever, flattering words, with bright glances, emitting waves of longing. He would revel with me in the loving pastimes, which are still alive in my heart of hearts. So here, the reference is to the Kadamba. Now, Kadamba is mentioned in the Bhagavata Puran and is largely a tree associated with Krishna in North India. So whenever you talk about Krishna standing against a tree and playing the flute, Krishna stealing the cloth of the gopis and putting it on a tree, all the references to the Kadamba Vriksha. Just like the banyan of the Bhagavad Gita, the banyan tree or the Vata Vriksha of the Bhagavad Gita, which has its roots in the heavens and its branches in the earth. So that's an esoteric idea of the source or the moolam being there in the heavens. And from there, life sustaining and spreading on the earth, because all the fruits and the flowers and the branches are on the earth. So how the banyan is important to the Bhagavad Gita, or Krishna is Bhagavan, the Kadamba is important also in the Krishna Bhakti literature as the primary tree, which against which Krishna's activities are set. In the south, it is Parvati's favorite tree. So the brother and sister, so she's called Kadamba Vanavasini. Dikshitar calls her Kadamba Vanavasini. She inhabits the vanas, which are filled with Kadamba trees. So just like the philosophic ideas are connected to the Vatavriksha or the banyan, the Leelas and Shringara associations are connected to the Kadamba idea. And that is what is interesting here, that he ends with establishing him as the one point source of light, or what is called the bija. So after talking about him in all these aspects, he says he is that one who is rooted there, and he's waiting for her. And this is all happening in her smriti, or in her memory. Then he finishes it by saying, Sri Jayadeva Bhanitam Ati Sundara Mohana Madhuripurupam Haricharana Smarana Pratisamprati Punyavatam Anurupam. Again, he brings you back to Haricharana. He will bring you back there. And he says, for those fortunate people who are devoted to serving him, it is Jayadeva's lyrical song which describes Madhuripu's spellbinding beauty. That is most important. So to taste Prema Bhakti, one needs to embrace the rasa of Shringara, and Charana here primarily refers to the act of the rasa, or the rasa leela, because without the Charana, there is no leela. Because the rasa is all about, the dancing. It's all about the spanning of that mandala. So every time he has to keep bringing you back to the Charana. Now, the name, each of these songs or sections have a name in the context of, the Vrindavana Bhakti. This song is called Madhuripu Ratna Kanthika. That is the name given to this song. So you can see there also, it talks about light. That this is the shining jeweled necklace of Madhuripu, this song. The jeweled necklace of Madhuripu's beauty and other virtues. That is what, that is how they describe this song. Clear? So Sancharadhara is established as a source of light. Now after that, what happens? Now we come to Spurti. Now when we come to Spurti, she is actually experiencing the Sambhoga within the Vipralambha. She's separate from him, but because of the Spurti, because of her internal vision of Krishna, which is eternally there present, she's experiencing Sambhoga as if it was her very first time of Sambhoga with him. She calls it Prathama Samagama. So as if it is the very first time, she's experiencing it all over again. So she says, Madhuripu has abandoned me to enjoy intimacies with all of them, but I still cannot be angry with him. I don't know why. So I overlook all his faults and I feel great bliss, Sakhi, because I long for him at every moment and cannot forget him. What am I to do? She says. Punarapi mano vamam kamam karoti karomi kim. What should I do? Because I cannot forget him. She says that beautifully. And then, we go into the Nibruta Nikunja, which is the very famous, Sakhihe, Keshi Mathana Mudaram. The descent of the moon has started. So this is the day one of the descent of the moon. The first day of the descent is in the head. It's in her hair. See the Pallavi, Keshi Madhana Mutharam. So there is the reference to the idea of the beauty of hair, the illusion of Kesha. So here, now you will find one interesting thing happening in this song. Completely we can't discuss. But there's one interesting thing that will happen is, every charanam will indicate to you one certain sensory perception. Now, in the Sambhoga that takes place between the Purusha, between him and Prakriti, the sensory perceptions or the Panchendriyas and the Tanmatras have to be involved in it. Because it is without 5 senses, there is no Sambhoga or there is no creation. Because 5 senses are directly connected to the 5 bhutas or the Panchabhutas. So if there is Akasha to be created, there has to be the sound component. If there is earth to be created, there has to be the Gandha component. So whenever the Sambhoga reference is there between the primordial couple, the reference will always be there to the Panchabhutas hidden within the Panchendriyas idea. Here also you will find that. Now the same thing which she loses here in the Sambhoga, because she's not actually losing it. It's in the Spurti. She's remembering it. That she will reclaim when she comes to Kuriyadnandana. She will reclaim it there. Because she has to re-establish as Prakriti. Okay, so here you see how it works, the whole thing. She says, one night he came to the secluded bhava where we had agreed to meet, and he concealed himself in the dense foliage, just to observe my eagerness for him and my agony in his absence. So overcome by anxiety, my eyes, which were weary and full of apprehension, I looked around wondering when he will come. Seeing me so tormented, he then delighted me with the nectar of his laughter. So this Keshi is the most, munificent of everyone, she says. And when it comes to relieving the burning heat of Kamadeva, he is the most proficient. Only he can do it. And this desire has seized my heart and it has driven me mad. Arrange at once, my friend, for the killer of Keshi, killer of illusion, basically, to come and fulfill my yearning. So this charanam is about seeing. She's desperately trying to see him. She's trying to see him, but he is not visible. And then he reveals himself to her suddenly. So this gives you the sensory perception of sight. Now from here, the Krishna Paksha has actually started, or the descent of the moon has started. And she expresses desire to acquire Krishna for herself here. So, in the later discussions or in the later commentaries of Geetha Govindam, there has been a discussion saying that Radha expresses desire for herself to acquire Krishna. But this is opposed to the definition of Shuddha Bhakti or Sattva, because which prohibits self-interest, that you are not supposed to have self-interest in this idea. Why does Radha have this interest and why does she express it? This is a question they ask. Now so the answer to this is that the gopis and Radha have renounced everything. They have already given up the concept of self-interest, only to be with Krishna, only to engage with him. So it is not selfishness, but it is self-effacement. It is complete removal of the self itself, so that you can immerse in the idea of prema. And this anuraga, or this love, when it's expressed, must become mutual. Only then it is fulfilled. Krishna may be Bhagavan, but he has to reciprocate for them to self-efface, because otherwise what are they surrendering to? Whom are they surrendering to? And what is the purpose of that surrender? So he has to take them in. in order for their prema bhakti to fructify. This has been taken, this idea, and explained later in the Krishna Bhakti works, where they say that if prema is one-sided, then rasa bhasa arises, or there is a destruction of rasa. So it has to be reciprocated by him eventually, at some point of time. And once he decides to do that, he will be in equal pain. He will be in equal pain for his bhaktas, for them. Then that mutual, that connection arises between the two. So that is why Radha's is not selfishness. It is extreme, what they call condensed love or mahabhava. That is what is the idea that is brought out here. So here you will see that, there are some other things also here, which I don't have time to touch actually. So in the second one, you will see, now here the Dashakama Avasthas have already started in Vipralamba Shringara. We saw Chinta and Abhilasha. Now here you're seeing, the Chinta Abhilasha getting heightened, and Anusmruti is adding to it. Because she is now constantly thinking, and Guna Kirtana is also adding. So Guna Kirtana, she's singing the gunas of Krishna, even though she's angry. I mean, she's upset and she's separated from him, but still she keeps remembering the gunas of Krishna, or she keeps seeing the gunas of Krishna inside her vision. So every union that happens between this primordial couple is Prathama Samagama. That is what is brought out here. And this charanam brings out the concept of hearing. How? Prathama Samagama Lajjitaya Patu Chatu Shatairanukulam Mrudu Madhura Smita Bhashitaya. He's talking to her here. Shidhili Kruta Jagana Dukulam. While he's talking to her and while she's hearing, he's loosening the cloth on her waist. So the idea here is that before union, both have to become bodiless. What is the concept of bodiless? We will discuss in Narayana Manugata Manusara Radhike. In the second, last one, we will discuss that. So while he's mesmerizing her with the idea of sound, at the same time, he's making her bodiless there. By removing the cloth. So here it is hearing. The next one is taste. Kisalaya Shayana Niveshitaya Chiramurasi Mamaiva Shayanam Kruta Parirambhana Chumbanaya. So this gives you the idea of taste. Here this idea, the sensory perception of taste is being established because he talks about chumbana or the kissing idea. So she says, he drank the nectar of my lips. Now, Kruta Parirambhana has been discussed very nicely in some of the commentaries on Geetha Govindam. So they say that there is a commentary called Rasamanjari, not the Rasamanjari of Bhanudatta, but a commentary on the Geetha Govindam called Rasamanjari. They have explained this embrace of Radha and Krishna as Shira Neera Alingana, as Alingana, which is like milk and water. So you cannot separate the two. It has also been described as Tila Tandula Alingana. So like how, when you mix rice mixed with sesame. So when you make an offering as a, prasada, and you mix sesame and rice, the flavor of it gets so into the rice that, even if you pick the sesame out and throw it, still the flavor is there in the rice. So that is how this particular Alingana, Krita Parirambhana, that is how it has been described in the commentaries of the Geetha Govindam. So here you have the taste idea. And the next is the idea of touch, basically. Alasa Nimilita Lochanaya, Pulakavali, Lalita Kapolam. So the body is bursting into goosebumps. Shramajala Sakala Kalevaraya. The whole body is filled with Shramajala or perspiration. Vara Madana Madada Tilolam. So here is the idea of touch. Because she's sweating and profusely. and the entire body, it's flowing. And this, in this particular charanam, all the Sattvika bhavas are working. Now, what are the Sattvika bhavas? Stamba, Sweda, Romancha, Swarabhanga, Vepathu, Vaivarnya, Ashru, Pralaya. All of them are being introduced now here. Later, you'll come to one or two sections in which all occur in one same shloka, one shloka itself. So here now the Vaivarnya, the Vepathu, all this is being introduced now slowly. Because let's not forget that the Natyashastra is going simultaneously along with everything else. Along with all the esoteric metaphysic idea, the Natakiyata or the Natyashastra components are also going simultaneously here. So this whole section is the Virahotkantita section. This entire, till Mamiyam Chalita, which is the next one, till there it is all Viraha. After that, the Naikavasthas will change actually. So he introduces this, and now for the next one, there is the sound, hidden inside the sound idea is the Gandha or the fragrance idea. So you have the Kokila Kalarava, which brings the sound idea, but he talks about Kusuma Akula Kuntalaya. So Kusuma Akula Kuntala. Kuntala is hair. Hair is always the source point or the entry point of Gandha, along with flowers. So whenever you talk about hair, you're talking about the fragrance, you're talking about scent. So this is the last of the sensory perceptions idea, that of Gandha. So she says the flowers, because my hair came undone, all the flowers cascaded and fell down. And I don't know what he was writing on my full bosom with the scratching of his fingernails, she says. You will find the same ideas reflected there when she says, come on now, write in Kuryadanandana. So this is a memory that she treasures, which she wants to repeat there after the next Samagama takes place. Okay, so everything is connected. We have to keep coming back and forth here for the whole thing. The last, again, he re-establishes sound. Why? Because of the bodilessness. Sound is the Akasha Tattva. Charana Ranita Mani Nupuraya Paripurita Surata Vitanam Mukhara Vishrunkala Mekhalaya Sa Kachagraha Chumbana Danam. As you reach the height of passion or union, bells started ringing, she says. So when Srishti is taking place, the bells have started ringing. And the waist bell fell off noisily. That is how she describes it. So this is the climax of the union idea. And in the fructification, the sound element has to come back. The Akasha Tattva has to come back. Because when you finish a certain act, you start with the bell and you end with the bell. You start, the bell is the important feature there. So that is how he establishes the Spurti idea here. And after this is done, after he talks about this entire Sambhoga, he completely goes to Krishna. He shifts base to Krishna because now the Avirbhava has to happen. Her Spurti is complete. She's remembered him completely in Sambhoga. Now it is Krishna's time to remember her. So now Krishna's Spurti has to be in work. And for that, he has to appear in person there. So the Avirbhava has to happen. In the ending, he talks about the limpness of a body or the state of complete surrender or weightlessness towards the end of this Sakhihe. So that is Nihsaha, he says, Asamartha. She's fallen like a vine, like a creeper. So there is the role reversal here. And the love is fully fructified. Udita Manojam. It's come to its fructification. And in the commentaries, they beautifully say that when the rapture of Rati Vilasa is over, and when the woman's body is languid after that, when the surrender is complete, when she attempts to cover herself with her hair or the clothes, that is when we know that she wants to reclaim her body, that she wants rest. That is how beautifully they have explained it. They have explained it and said that is the time when that the woman wants to come into her own again. That now she's surrendered and now she wants to reclaim. So that is the beauty here. And of course, you have some shlokas, which maybe one or two shlokas which follow. And he says very clearly that Radha is utkantita here towards the end. Sri Jayadeva Bhanitam Idam Atishaya Madhuripu Nidhuvana Sheelam Sukham Utkantita. Sukham Utkantita Gopavadhu Kathitam Vitanotu Salilam. So she's talking about this, the Utkantita. In all his songs, you will find the Naikavastha referred to directly in the script itself. Abhisar, Vasaka Sajja, everything he will refer to it in person. He will bring out the names of the Naikavasthas clearly in the songs itself. You can see that. This song, now note this is important. This song is called Kunjara Tilaka, supreme elephant of all lovers. So Krishna is considered to be the elephant, and elephant is a concept of senses, sensory perception. Elephants, so when you say the senses are running wild, you always refer to them as wild elephants let loose. That same elephant idea will come back for you in the last song. So you have to note that this concept of elephant or Kunjara, and Krishna being called Kunjara, is important here to the idea of sensory perception. And Pandita Jagannatha Raya, who was a much later poet, he was completely against the Geetha Govindam for some reason. He plays on that same Kunjara idea and he criticizes the Geetha Govindam, and he says Geetha Govindam is like a mad elephant let loose in a garden. So, that is how he describes the text. So he plays again on the Kunjara idea here. After that, you have the shlokas which talk about, how her eyebrows were arched like creepers. And, because of all this, Krishna remembers her suddenly and she says, she saw me with all these women and she went away in anger. So his Vamshi falls from his hands and his cheeks become moist with perspiration. So that shlokam you can read for yourself. It says, Hastastastta Vilasa Vamsha Manruja Bruvalli. So he talks about her eyebrow, which is crooked like creepers, and how the Vamshi falls from his hand. And, he realizes that now enough of all this. He has to concentrate on his primordial deity, who is Radha. So what he does, he retreats into a secluded bhava. Now, that is the first thing you have to do when you have to sit in tapas or in dhyana for your beloved deity. First thing you have to do is you have to retreat into a secluded place. So he says, Kamsarir api samsara vasana bandha shrinkalam. Now, this is an important phrase that he uses in the shloka before Mamiyam. So what does this mean? Kamsa Ari. So Kamsa's enemy. Kamsa's enemy, he addresses Krishna here as Kamsari. But there are two meanings to this. Kamsa's enemy also means Kam Sukham Sarayati, Vistarayati Kamsarihi. That is the second meaning of it. One who expands one's happiness is also called a Kamsari. An expansion of happiness. Samsara Vasana Bandha Shrinkala. When samsara is interpreted as samyak and sara, samyak is complete, sara is essence. Then it refers to madhura rasa. So samsara rasa here is not the rasa of samsara, which is renunciation, but it is connected to the idea of samyak sara or madhura bhava. So when he says samsara vasana bandha, so that means he's completely immersed in the vasana or the bliss of madhura rasa. So therefore, the tendency to remain preoccupied with madhura rasa is called samsara vasana. So we talk about something that, samsara sagara. Samsara sagara indicates that you are preoccupied with samsara rasa or with madhura rasa. So that is the idea, it says. And because Radha keeps him under control, she is the shrinkala or the binding link or the chain that keeps him rooted to Madhura. That is why when Kamsari, one who expands happiness, realizes samsara vasana bandha shrunkala, Radham adhaya. He realizes that Radha is the adhara, she is the adeya for his adhara. Hrudaye tat tyaja vraja sundari. That's when he leaves all the other vraja sundaris and he goes to Radha. So this shlokam is very important to understand this idea here that is being expressed. So he searched in vain for her. He searched everywhere for her, but his mind was so pierced by, Madana's arrows, because here Madana is now creating trouble for him. The Madana of the earth, the earthly Madana, is creating a lot of problem for him now, because he's in a weakened state. He doesn't have his Swarupa Shakti with him. So he has to now meditate upon her to get her back. So he is going into one kunja after the other looking for Radha. And after failing, he finally sits, despondent in one place. And then his vilapa, so that is the next stage of the Dashakama Avasthas, it starts. So Guna Kirtana, then there is Udvega, which both experienced while searching for him or searching for each other. And now the next stage here is Vilapa. Now the moon has entered the left eye. It's coming down. Left eye for the female is lucky, but left eye for the male is unlucky. So he will face a lot of problems, when the moon enters the left eye. So you can see in Mamiyam, he's facing a lot of problems here. He's completely upset here. Now this is the Avirbhava section. So she says, seeing me surrounded by so many, Vrajagopis, Radha became indignant and went off. Fearing that I offended her, I could not muster the courage to stop her from leaving. Saparadhataya mayapi navaritati bhayena. I could not stop her because I have done the mistake. Taparadha is mine. So I could not stop her. Hari Hari Hatadarataya. Hari Hari is the mantra to Radha. So he's praying to Radha actually. When he says Hari Hari, he is not calling himself. So I hope you remember, we discussed yesterday that Hari is the Radha mantra and Krishna is the Krishna mantra, which is the secret behind Hare Krishna mission, the ISKCON thing. So when you say Hare, you're actually invoking Radha, because Radha is the Shiksha Guru and Krishna is the Diksha Guru. That is the concept you have in Krishna Bhakti. So he expresses his disappointment and his pain by doing the mantra japa of Radha here, Hari Hari, by concentrating on her here. So Viraha as an Aika Avastha is extremely permissible for the male. So you will find a lot of songs where you have Purusha Viraha being expressed. And there is a state of helplessness here, which is called Deenata. The Deenata of Krishna is being brought out here, because he's really clueless as to how to get his Shakti back. So he's constantly Kim Karishyati, Kim Vadishyati. What should I do? What should I say? Kim Dhanena Janena, Kim Mama Jivitena Gruhena. What do I do with wealth? What do I do with people? What do I do with breath? What do I do with my griha? So everything is connected to the Swarupa here. There is no wealth without Lakshmi. There is no connection with others without Lakshmi. Jana, because she is the mediator. Janani, can we take the question towards the end? Then there is no Geetha, because she is Panchapraneshwari. There is no breath for him. There is no Gruha, because she is inside his Gruha, na? The Gruha of the heart. Without Lakshmi, nothing, everything is empty for him. So everything he talks about, it's utter emptiness without Radha there. So what will she be feeling? What will she be thinking? Will she come back to me? Is his idea here. And constantly he's dwelling on the face of his deity. Chintayami tadananam. Bottom line. That's the bottom line of the whole song. Kutila bru kopa bharena. Your eyebrows are twisted, like, crooked, and they are filled with anger. Shoda padma mivopari bhramatakulam bhramarena. Your face, which is red, Shona Padma, it's like a red lotus. And your eyebrows are like rows of bumblebees. So this is called this is actually in Sanskrit called the Vakyardha Upama Alankara. That is you bringing out the comparison, not through one idea, but through the entire Vakya. That is how he brings this out. And okay, we don't have time for full song, but he says, since Radha dwells forever in the temple of my heart, aham hrudi sangatam anisham. That is the word he uses there. You can read the whole song. You will have a lot of homework, actually. You'll have to read all these songs so that you can, just get those phrases in your thing. So, aham hrudayam sangatam. So she's constantly, that's the place she dwells forever. Where I hold her always in a tight embrace, he says. She's always there because she's Krishna Spurti. She's the inner vision of Krishna. Why am I lamenting time and again, searching for her from forest to forest when she's always there inside, he says. So here there is an explanation. There is a reversal of Antaryami. So if he is the Antaryami of everybody else, she is his Antaryami. There's a reversal there. And that is why he says, let me just explain that section. Where is that? Okay, I can't find it here. Okay, we'll get to that later. So here, we have the reversal of the Antaryami idea. And he also says that Krishnangi, she's delicate. It seems that your heart is afflicted by jealousy. So he's referring to her klesha. You proudly went off in a huff somewhere. Now, what should I do to petition you for pardon? She is jealous. She went off in a huff. It's actually not his fault, but he has to petition her for pardon, which is what he'll do in the next time he opens his mouth in Priyacharishile, because she becomes a manini there. So he has to petition her. So now when he's calling out to her in Spurti, this Vilapa is slowly turning into the next phase, which is called Unmada, kind of a madness. And he is looking for ways to pacify her mana. And it clearly says in the commentary that when the Jiva, when he's separated from the beloved, he sees her everywhere. And many pieces reflect this idea. You can see in Valmiki Ramayanam, there are multiple ideas of him seeing her everywhere. So here he is begging his Shakti, who's also his devotee or Prakriti, for darshana. He says, Dehi Sundari Darshanam. Give me darshana. So here the Lord is asking his devotee for darshana. Such is the relationship between Bhagavan and his, and his bhaktas, because whenever he becomes an Anukula Nayaka, or somebody who's devoted to that one, Shakti, then he doesn't mind, asking her for, to be with him, or he doesn't mind begging her, which is what he has to do. So here there is a biographical verse towards the end of this piece, where Jayadeva says, Varnitam Jayadeva Kena Hareridam Pravanena Kindu Bilva Samudra Sambhava Rohini Ramanena. This is a biographical, one of the few biographical mudras of Jayadeva, which he has in this song. He who appeared like the moon from the ocean of the village of Kindubilva has collected Hari's lament. That Jayadeva is humbly delivering this song, he says. So there is a reference to the moon here. Jayadeva's names in Orissa lore, he has two names. He's called Piyusha Varshaha, or one who, showers nectar, which is again a reference to the moon. And he's also called Rohini Ramana, the lover of the Rohini Nakshatra. Again, that is also the moon. So he uses both his epithets here. He says, I am Jayadeva, who rises like the moon above the village called the ocean of Kindubilva, the thing. And I'm talking about that Lord, who is the Lord of the moon. So he uses both those ideas here. Whenever there is a Krishna Vak, there are several shlokas which expand on the idea further. You will not find so many shlokas after the Radha songs as you will find after the Krishna songs. So after this song, you have 5-6 shlokas. Now here, these shlokas are important, even though we don't have much time to discuss it. Why it is important is because here he is denouncing Madana and accepting Radha as Madana for him. This is the denouncement he's doing. See, I'll tell you very quickly. The most famous shlokam of Krishna in Geetha Govindam, Hrudi Bisalata Haro. That is the most famous. He says, Hrudi Bisalata Haro Nayam Bhujanga Manayakaha Kuvalaya Dala Shreni Kante Nasagarala Dyutihi Malayaja Rajo Nedam Bhasma Priya Rahite Mai Praharana Harabhrantya Ananga Krudha Kimudhavasi. Oh Ananga, are you tormenting me because you think I'm Lord Shiva? This is a necklace of lotus stems, not snakes. I'm wearing the petals of the blue lily around my neck, so it's not poison. I am smeared with sandal paste and I have become pale because of separation from my lover. I'm not smeared with ash. So back off, retreat. You are targeting me by mistake. Praharana harabhrantya. Don't be in the bhranti that I'm hara. Why are you rushing towards me? Stay away from me, he says. And then he completes the idea by saying, if you are picking up your mango bow, your sugarcane bow, don't do it. If you continue to pick up your bow, then do not put the mango arrow against it. Do not attack me because you cannot do me any harm, because my heart is already broken by the volley of the arrows left from Radha's eyes. So he says, already there is no, he says, Ghatena kim paurusham. What is a paurusham in attacking somebody who's already weak? What is the point in doing that? So you have vanquished the entire universe, but don't take that mango bud arrow and come to me. So according to Krishna Bhakti literature, which we discussed yesterday, we spoke about the 5 arrows. Now, according to Krishna Bhakti, Kamadeva's Pushpabanas are Amra Mukula, one, which is the mango, which is Chuta. The second is the Ashoka. The third is the Mallika. The fourth is the Madhavi. And the fifth is the Bakula. So there is a slight difference in the way, they perceive the arrows. And he says, Krida Nirjita Vishwa. Conquering the universe may be like a play for you. But Manasija, don't forget you have arisen from my heart. You're born from there. And you want to attack the one who gave birth to you, is it? You stay away from me. And for that, he supplements the whole thing by saying, her arched eyebrows, the crooked glances, all these are the arrows and the bows. So he says, I'm okay. These, this is what he is using for his arsenal. Kamadeva is using all this for his arsenal. They are not acceptable to me that he takes Radha's, weapons when she is weak. And he takes her weapons and he attacks me. But I don't mind Radha attacking me. So he continues by saying, Tanvi, let the glances issuing from the bow of your eyebrows strike my heart. Let them strike me. I don't mind, he says. So he is accepting Radha's supremacy over Madana's supremacy here. The same thing Radha has to do in Chandana Charchita. She has to reject Madana and accept Krishna's supremacy over Madana. That is the whole convoluted idea here. So here he says, let your glances strike my most vulnerable parts, causing me intolerable pain. I don't mind. Let your black serpentine braid thrash me to death. I don't mind. Let your soft lips, which are red and succulent as bimba fruits, let them make me delirious. Let them create the unmada that, that fellow's arrows will create. I don't mind. But how is it that such perfectly rounded bosoms, which are actually meant to give joy, how is it that they are taking away all my vital air, all my breath? How is it that they are drawing my life force? He asks. So he is accepting her as the vital breath, as the Praneshwari. He says, you are the one, not this fellow. That is the idea establishes here. And he says, my mind is in samadhi or union with Radha. But still, he says, why am I lamenting? Even though she's inside me and I'm in samadhi with her. So here there is an explanation given in some of the commentaries where he says, mind is in samadhi or union, but still there will be viraha even when the mind experiences internal union. There will be pain of separation because of the absence of sensory perception of Prakriti. Physical presence of Prakriti is not there. So the sensory perceptions are not working, they are weak there. So this is an internal union, but there is still the pain of separation because for Prakriti, it's a manifested idea. She has to manifest physically for him to be satisfied. That is how he explains the idea. And the Mangala Shasana of this, which is not there in Barbara Stoller Miller, it gives you the name of the chapter also. It calls it Sa Mugdhe Madhusudanasya Madhure. So I don't know why these Mangala Shasanas are omitted in some of the books. And he gives you this Mangala Shasana saying, may the countless waves flowing from Madhusudana's glances bestow peace and prosperity upon all. So this intense longing of Krishna may it make everyone happy. So that's how what he says in the Mangala Shasana here. And then he goes to the next act where now the scene again shifts back to Radha. It comes back to Radha and it's called Snigdha Madhusudana or the affectionate Madhusudana because he's sitting in the Vanira Kunja or the place where, he's afflicted. And then Radha's friend comes and she speaks to him and she tells him that, this lady is in a state of now unmada. So that unmada is reflected in nindati chandana vindukirana. This is all dushanas. All the dushanas will come. Dushana is in the state of unmada. You are constantly criticizing everything that gives you happiness. So you're criticizing chandana, you're criticizing the soft breezes, you're criticizing Malaya Maruta, you're criticizing everything that gives you happiness. So Chandana Charchita is the state in which Radha is in a state of unmada here. And she says, in your absence, she defames sandal paste. She finds the rays of the moon tormenting. She considers the Malayan breezes as flames. And the poison, like the poison of venomous snakes, she finds them. You know, those snakes which coil around the trees of Chandana. So this is not Malaya Maruta for her, it is the poison of those snakes. So just as someone who is being attacked by these arrows takes protection from somebody, she also seeks protection from you in her thoughts. You know, Sa virahe tavadina madhava manasija vishikha bhayadiva bhavanaya tvailina. In her bhavana, she's appealing to you to protect her because she's unable to protect herself from the onslaught that is happening. That is how he explains it. And then now this barrage of Kamadeva's arrows are falling upon her heart. Because you are enshrined in that heart, in the tender core of that heart, she's attempting to protect you also over there. So what is she doing? By covering it with a mystical shield of moist lotus petals. What protection will lotus petals give? This is a Atishayokti he uses here. That is, you are using the lotus arrow, the Aravinda. She's trying to counter it by protecting her core with moist lotus petals. But she is protecting herself with something which is your Ayudha. So it is not going to work for her. That is what is the idea here. Kama uses lotuses, which she's covering herself with. So how long will it take for him to destroy that? You know, so basically what she's doing is she's increasing her own suffering. So here what you have is the tapa of Radha is equals to the tapa of Radha. That is, it is a sadhana. It's become a sadhana now for her. She's meditating upon him. This you will see very clearly when he says she has prepared a bed of flowers for delighting, you know, in amorous pleasure with you. But it feels like a bed of arrows. It feels like she's performing austerities lying on her bed of arrows. So he talks about tapa and tapa in the same voice here. She's meditating upon you. She's experiencing severe austerities so that she can unite with you. Exactly like how Parvati does her tapas, you know, for Krishna, for Shiva. So here the obstructions to sadhana, we'll just take 1 second's detour here because I think this is important. So we spoke about the Dashakama avasthas, you know, so it is also very interesting when you talk about the Kama avasthas, the 10 Kama avasthas, Chinta, Abhilasha, Anusmruti, Gunakirtana, Udvega, Vilapa, Unmada, Vyadhi, Jadata and Marana. These are the 10. If you see the obstacles or to tapa, the obstacles of a seeker, which the Yoga Sutras give you, there also you have 9. Marana is not there, but you have 9. They are samshaya, doubt, very similar to Chinta. You have pramada, distraction, negligence, carelessness. You have avirati, desire and craving. You have alasya, heaviness, lethargy. You have Bhranti Darshana, illusions and misunderstandings. You have Alabdha Bhumikatva, doubting your progress and your ability to succeed. You have Anavasthitatva, inability to sustain or maintain an achievement. Vyadhi, which is common to both physical illness or disease. Sthayana, apathy, lack of interest. Stillness, which is equal to Jadata. So you see how similar they are. The Shringara or the Vipralambha Kamavasthas and the Sadhana Avasthas are identical. That is why Tapa and Tapa is the same idea. You're seeking something. Here you're seeking your lover, there you're seeking your God. Here the lover is only the God also. So you're seeking both, and therefore you can see the avasthas are identical. Even in that. So you can write them down when you see the recording. So I just wanted to show you that similarity between the two states, the state of the seeker and the state of the Virahini, as we talk about them. So here, what is important, the catchphrase of this whole thing is, while she continuously derides Madana, the very important transformation of Krishna to Madana in her mind takes place in the Charanam where the Sakhi says, Vilikhati rahasi kuranga madena bhavantam asama sharabhutam pranamati makara madho vinidhaya karecha sharam navachutam. What does that mean? She secretly paints a picture in musk of your enchanting form, capturing you as Kamadeva himself riding a makara. So she has now rejected the Kama or the Madana of the earth. She has juxtaposed Krishna as her Madana. She draws him in musk. Now the musk idea also we discussed. The musk is actually the male, the idea of the male semen. So she's establishing you there as her lover, as her Madana, and she's ready to go to you. So see the translation clearly. She secretly paints a picture in musk of your enchanting form. She captures you as Kamadeva himself riding a makara. She draws mango bud arrows in your hand and bows down before you. That is the catchphrase of this whole song. So it is Madana's banner. Makara as in, it is fish only. It's not Meena. Meena is a word that evolved later actually, when Makara became crocodile. Because when you see Nata Shastra, when you say Makara Hasta, you show fish only. So Makara Dhwaja basically means fish banner. Later Makara Dhwaja became Varuna's banner because it became crocodile, and this Madana's became Meena Dhwaja. So that distinction was not there. Makara was any floating animal in water was called Makara. Crocodile, Meena, everything was called Makara. So it is Madana's banner. It's a sensory symbol, and she's ready to experience the pain of Krishna's attacks in the form of Madana. So this is the very important part of Chandana Charchita. So she continues it by saying, she pleads again and again, "O Madhava, I am falling at your feet. As soon as you turn away from me, even the moon god with his chalice of nectar also is beginning to shower fire upon my body." Her whole appeal has turned towards Madhava. She's not doing any ninda of Manmadha, or she's not giving Madana any importance anymore. She completely turns and, reverses and says, now her whole appeal is to Krishna, only to Madhava. So you can see how she changed over there. Just as he rejected Madana there and said, Radha, you can do whatever you want. Same thing, identical thing she did here. She rejected Madana and she told him, you can do whatever you want. So to clinch that, she says, Dhyanalayena puraha parikalpya. Intently meditating upon you, she imagines that you have appeared before her. And that is why sometimes she laments, sometimes she laughs, sometimes she cries, sometimes she thinks she's receiving your embrace in a vision. And then sometimes she abandons all suffering and she's happy. So these are all states of sambrama or unmada. Vilapati, hasati, vishidati, roditi, chanchati, munchati tapam. So it's all those phases that she's experiencing. And he says something very important here. He says, Sri Jayadeva Bhanita Midam Adhikam Yadi Manasa Nataniyam. Nataniyam. Hari Virahakula Pallava Yuvati Sakhi Vachanam Pataniyam. If your heart yearns to relish Jayadeva's song, constantly recite the words of Radha's friend, because she is the Acharya. She is the guide. She is the person there who's mainly singing this story. This story, which portrays Radha's anguish in separation from Hari. Nataniyam. This is the catchphrase. Something that is worthy of being enacted. Something that you can do natana for. Nataniyam, if it is worthy of being enacted, that means it is rasaniya and it is aswadaniya also. So it is connected to rasa, it is connected to relish. Because the Natyashastra also says, Nata Shabdo Rase Mukhyaha. So when you say Nata, the meaning of Nata is actually rasa. Abhinava Gupta also uses Natya and rasa as synonyms. He says, if there is Natya, there is rasa. If there is rasa, there is Natya. Both are inseparable, he says. That is how he uses the idea of rasa. So he says, if this is adhikam yadi manasa nataniyam, if this song of Jayadeva is extremely enactable, then you must keep remembering the song of the Sakhi. That is how he establishes the idea here. And the next shlokam is important even from the point of view of Jayadeva's work as a prabandha work. Because of her viraha, he uses a lot of metaphors here. He says, her residence has transformed into a wild jungle. Radha's residence has become a wild jungle. Avaso vipinayate. It becomes vipina, it becomes a jungle. Her circle of intimate friends become like hunters' nets. So she's choked by them itself. She's captured. Malapi jalayate. Her sighs of pain fan the flames which are blazing inside her. Tapopi shvasitena dava dahana jwala. Kalapayate. Alas, in separation from you, Tvad virahena hanta harini rupayate. She has become like a frightened doe, in separation from you. And that Kandarpa is still around. Virachayam shardula vikriditam. He's still lurking around. Death personified. He's like a tiger who's lurking around. As death personified. She has rejected him, but he'll not accept defeat so soon, no? So he's still lurking around. This is beautiful for metaphor, and it has a chamatkriti in language. Because that verse that you're seeing here, this shlokam, the meter of it is Shardula Vikridita. That is the chandas, that is the meter of this verse. So he has incorporated the word Shardula Vikridita in the poem, which is the name of the chandas also. This section has all this. He uses the name of the chandas in the shlokam itself. Okay, so this is important for that. And then he comes to the ninth song, which is again, it is a continuation of the Virahotkantita idea. It is a reiteration of the previous song as if it's a capsule. It's a short song, small lines, almost reiterating what Chandana Charchita says. And by now the moon has descended into the cheek. So you can find the reference here very clearly. When he says she has her hand in her, cheek in her hand and she doesn't remove it, he says in that. So you can see the reference very clearly there. Wasted away in separation, she finds that even the garland lying on her as a burden. So Radhika, Virahe Tava Keshava. This is simply a summation of the previous song. So here, we won't go through this song because it's just a repetition of Chandana Charchita in many ways, but some important points are, some of the metaphors in this song are extremely beautiful. For example, she says, Dishi Dishi Kirati Sajala Kanajalam, Nayana Nalina Miva Vigalita Nalam. Her lotus eyes, the way they glance in all the directions, because of that restlessness, she's scattering the rain of her tears everywhere. How does he look? He says, it looks like water drops which are falling from lotus flowers which have broken off their stems. So that's an exquisite description in this song. And Tyajatina Pani Talena Kapolam. She doesn't leave her cheek, alone. So her palm is encircling her cheek and she stays like that. How does it look? He says it looks like a crescent moon in the twilight sky. The cheek looks like a crescent moon in the redness of her palm. So it looks like a moon in the twilight sky when she sits alone there. And she sees the bed of fresh petals and perceives it like as if it's a blazing fire. So it's a kind of a repetition. Here she comes to Vyadhi because the Unmada level is going. Haririti, Haririti, Japati Sakamam. Constantly she's, chanting your name. Viraha Vihita Maranena Nikamam. So her mind is now fixing on Marana, which is the last of the Kamavastas. So she wants to die. Her Vyadhi is reaching that stage now. So may this song composed by Jayadeva bestow happiness upon those drawn to Keshava's lotus feet. We are back to the feet again. Now, after this, there is the one shlokam in which all the Sattvika bhavas will come. Sa romanchati sheetkaroti vilapati utkampati tamyati dhyayati udbramati pramiliti pratatyudyati murchatyapi etavatya tanu jvare vara tanur jivena kimte rasat swartvaidya pratima prasidasi yadi tyaktonyadha hastakaha. Deranged in separation, she undergoes all the transformations. Her hair stands on end. She heaves with remorse. She weeps. She trembles. She meditates with rapt attention, which is Thamba. She wanders about in all your places of pastimes. She closes her eyes in bewilderment. She falls down. She faints. She manages to stand up again. And the lovesick girl is severely afflicted with a raging fever. If you feel pity, O best of physicians, administer your medicine to her and rejuvenate her, otherwise she will die. All the Sattvika bhavas occur in one shloka. And he calls Krishna here in the next, he says, Smaraturam Daivata Vaidya Hrudyam. Daivata Vaidya Hrudyam. You are a doctor who is better than the celestial physicians. So the Ashwini Kumaras, he says, you are a better doctor than them. He calls Daivata Vaidya Hridya. You are even better. Only the nectar of intimate contact with you will save Radha. And he says, if you don't do this, if you do not heal her disease of desire, O Upendra, then we will know that you are harder than the thunderbolt. So he uses the term here, Vimukta Badham Kurushena Radham. If you do not release her from the Badha, Upendra Vajrad Api Darunosi. Upendra Vajra is the meter of the shloka. The name of the meter is Upendra Vajra. So he calls him Upendra Vajra because in Vamana Avatara he takes the form of Upendra. So he says, because you are Indra's brother, Upendra, we will understand that you are as harsh as the thunderbolt of Indra if you do not relieve her. So here also he's playing with the chandas or the meter here. So here she's now on the verge of Marana. Okay. Are we past time? Okay. Oh, Amma, not bad. We still have 2 minutes more. So she lies gravely ill now, smoldering in the fever of passion. How astonishing is it that when she thinks of sandal paste or moonshine or lotus ponds, her fever only escalates, he says. And in a secluded place, the feeble girl meditates upon you, her very cooling, only soul lover. And somehow she breathes for just a few moments more. That is how he describes it. Dhyayanti rahasi sthita kadhamapi kshina kshanam praniti. Just for a little while she breathes again. In the next one, again he plays on the chandas. When she gazes upon you and her eyes would blink, that brief instance of separation would throw her into utter despair. So when she's with you, even if she blinks her eyes, she feels that that's a separation from you. And so how will she survive this loneliness, especially with the mango trees coming into full bloom in front of her eyes? Kshanamapi viraha pura nase nayana nimilana kinnaya yayate shwasiti kadham asau rasala shakam chira virahena vilokya pushpitagram. Pushpitagra is the name of the chandas. So these mango blossoms which are coming out, pushpita agra, the flowers are coming right in front out there in the rasala shakhas. How will she bear it? So these are 3 important shlokas in which he plays on the chandas of the the meters. He plays on the meters here. And there is a beautiful, Mangala Shasanas here, where you're talking about him as a healer. You're talking about him as somebody who has to rescue you. So there's a beautiful Mangala Shasana where he says, the residents of Gokula were distressed by the heavy rainfall, which Indra brought down, because he talks about Upendra, Vraja, all these things. So the Mangala Shasana connects the idea. And he says the young Gopa, who's the enemy of Kamsa, lifted the Giri Govardhana with his arm to protect them. With great exultation, beautiful maidens long kiss that arm, which bore the bright, vermilion from their lips. So his hand became red, with the kumkuma and the lip colors of the gopis, because they were so much in love with that protecting arm that they kept kissing that arm constantly. May such a Krishna bestow Mangala upon all of us. That is how he ends Act 4. And the next act is Sakanksha Pundarikaksha. I think we are pretty good, so we can, do this tomorrow. Because from here now, from the 10th song onwards, now the section on Virahotkantita will come to an end, and slowly from 11th becomes Abhisarika, and then you have the other Naika Avasthas expanding. Now where the Atruta of the Sakhi is increasing. On one side, she's preparing Radha to become the Abhisarika. Then she goes to Krishna, who's a Vasaka Sajja. And she says, she's too weak to come to you. Why don't you come to her? So this this thing is speeding up now. The whole idea is speeding up slowly. And there's a long Vipralabdha section, which is 4 songs, all very similar to each other. But those songs are all important for, in the idea of Vipralabdha, because in Vipralabdha, she thinks she's Sakhi Vanchita. She thinks that the Acharya has deceived her. The Sakhi has deceived her, and that is the ultimate pinnacle of her Unmada and her anger and the klesha that she feels, all the mala that is inside her, that is the height, that's a pinnacle of that. She has to vent all that out. All that has to go. Then he has to come. She has to reject everything connected to him. Now this happens even in tapas. The seeker, when they feel that the object of their worship or the god is not coming to them, they not only reject everything about the god, some of them go to another mata. They change their loyalties towards, another branch of learning or another branch of thought. So collectively, everything about Krishna, she wants to reject, because she's so filled with mana that he did not come to her in the form that she wants him to come. That she has to get over for, her to understand his appeal. So for that, the Vipralabdha section is very important, because all her, what is called kullu in Telugu, all that, that jealousy and that anger and the angst, everything has to come out there. Okay. So we'll do that section tomorrow, and we will try to finish at least till the 19th song, so that the last day, because Kuryadinandana is one jungle. And Radhika and me, when we did that for 2 days, actually. Kuryadinandana is a huge thing, and even, Priyacharushile also has a lot of hidden connotations in that. So we'll try to do as much as we can. Like today, I think we finished quite a substantial part of it. But because of time, since we cannot go through each and every of the 8 stanzas of all the songs, I think a little reading would help. Just go through the songs that we've done till today. If you could just read them and just make the connections as like how we discussed, that would be very interesting. Keshi is the killer of illusion. Could you elaborate? Yes, Sri Lakshmi. So Keshi is a horse, actually. So in the Bhagavata Puran, you have a list of Rakshasas, or list of, these forces that Krishna fights with. In that, Keshi is in the form of a horse. He's sent by Kamsa. Now this horse is so fast. It comes so fast. It comes like a flash. So you don't know where it is going, and you don't know where he will disappear. So that is, he's a symbol of illusion. Each of the Rakshasas that you have in the Bhagavata Puran, each and every one is a symbol of one kind of a vice, or one kind of a, obstruction. All of them, I have that entire list. I can share it sometime. I think we did it for the Bhakti workshop, if you remember. We did that entire list of Rakshasas and what they stand for. So Keshi, especially being a very fast horse, he's like a streak of lightning and you cannot see him properly. That is why he's a symbol of illusion. So when you say Keshi Madhana, basically you're talking about somebody who's destroying illusion. That is what you're talking about. Did you get your answer, Sri Lakshmi?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. What were the other questions? There are some other questions.
Yeah, there was a question from Jen saying, does Hari Hari here also mean oh no or Ayo?
Yeah, it is an exclamation also. But if we are looking at it in the context of the progression, because now we know that Hari Hari is a mantra for Radha. So, O Radha, it could be O Radha, the japa of Radha. It could also mean Ayo. But why will Hari say Hari Hari to himself? if it is Ayyo, somebody else will say Hari Hari, but he himself saying Hari Hari to himself is a little strange. Unless we take it in the context of that Hari being something which invokes Radha. That is the idea there.
And I think Purnimaka asked when you discussed the shlokas after Mamiyam,
Huh.
she had asked this question: has anybody performed these shlokas as standalone pieces?
Has anybody? I don't know.
Performed these shlokas as
I think
standalone
you have done, no, Purnima?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's okay to do that. To
Why
do
not?
just these shlokas as standalone, especially the one on Madana. I think it's beautiful.
Hridi Bisalata Haro. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Why can't we perform it as standalone? Of course, I am sure we can. Na? What is wrong in that?
Yeah.
Why will it be wrong? See, if we can take one shlokam from Krishna Karnamritam and elaborate on it, or we take one shlokam from Amaru and elaborate on it, we can also elaborate on a Geetha Govindam shlokam. What is wrong?
Yeah. Apart from the context in which it's set, just pick
Yes.
up the literature and
Yes,
go.
yes, I'm sure. Because the context is very well laid in the literature itself. Na?
Yeah. True.
Where Krishna Viraha, it is Krishna Viraha. The context is very obvious even if you just pick it out.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Jayaprabha ji says that she has done it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Would love to see it if it's on YouTube or something.
Is it on YouTube, Jayaprabha ji? Can you send us the link on? You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I performed it at Guruvayur temple for the Utsava.
Oh,
So I don't think it's on YouTube. I've not tried, but it's.
Ayyo.
I enjoyed performing it. It's so
Oh.
different for the Krishna Viraha. It's so different.
yes.
Very
Absolutely.
nice.
Neha, you had asked a question, is it? I saw some question in the
yes.
chat. Yeah.
Neha,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Neha
yes.
has asked a question.
Yes.
Yagya at the, you can ask it.
Yagya
Neha.
at the beginning of the session you mentioned. So is it the Yagya of creation that you're referring to? And does Jaidev mention this word in the text ever?
They will never mention the word. In Krishna Bhakti, the metaphysics law, they will never mention the word by name. Because if you see the order in which the upasana or the upasakas are trained in Krishna Bhakti, in the Achintya Bheda Veda philosophy that are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when you see the text of Rupa Goswamin, Jiva Goswamin, all these people, the Acharyas, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, the last text they will teach is Geetha Govindam. That is the last they will teach in their Upasana Paddhati, in initiating the students. That's the last text they'll teach. Because it is considered to be the most esoteric of all the texts connected to Krishna Bhakti, and they will never reveal. Even in the commentaries or even in the translations of the Geetha Govindam, they will never reveal it. Because they do not believe that it should be revealed by word. They believe that it should be experientially revealed.
It should be realized by the
It
sadhaka.
should be realized by the sadhaka, but through the upadesha of the guru.
Okay.
So if you have taken any Goswami as the guru, he
Hmm.
will give you that as an upadesha only. They will never reveal.
Okay.
Even if you see ISKCON, like when they have their performances and all that, if you tell them we want to perform Geetha Govindam, they are very unhappy about it. They don't like. We think they'll be ecstatic. Oh, we want to do Geetha Govindam, so they'll be very happy. They always reject it. They'll say you can perform something else on Krishna.
Because they believe it's very deep and
They believe it's very deep. They don't want it to be interpreted as simply an erotic text.
Okay.
They don't want it to be interpreted as something that is pure, sexual fantasy.
Right.
So they know they're very uncomfortable when you tell them you want to perform Geetha Govindam or extracts from that. They always prefer stories from Bhagavata Purana or Krishna Leelas and things like that.
Right.
They keep you away from the Geetha Govindam. Even though they have written translations, the translations will not have all these ideas.
Okay.
So these ideas actually you will find in articles written by foreigners, because those foreigners don't leave things alone. No, they'll come, they'll dig there. They will not, they'll say, okay, no, we will find this out no matter what they say. So you will find, in some articles and books written by them, they reveal some of these ideas.
Right.
But these people will never reveal it.
Right. One disconnected question. What is
Yeah.
Vipralabdha in
So
particular?
Vipralabdha is one of the 8 Naikavasthas
Okay.
that you have in the Natashastra. And Vipralabdha is that woman who goes to a place of meeting
Okay.
and she finds that her lover is not there.
Mhm.
So she has 2 problems here. One, she wants to understand whether she's been deceived by the Nayaka. So she's called Nayaka Vanchita. If she's deceived by the Sakhi, she's called Sakhi Vanchita.
Okay. Okay.
That is a Vipralabdha. A woman who doesn't know who has deceived her, whether it's the Nayaka or the Sakhi. But basically, she's been left stranded at a meeting place where she expected him to come, but he doesn't come.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I'm not from the dance background, so I did not.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Yeah, I think only Neha is the participant who is a non-dancer here. So
Oh, is it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Everybody else is dancers, is it? My God.
yeah.
Okay. Right.
And
So,
is
yeah, then I think we should give her a chart of Dashakama
maybe-
Avasthas and the Ashtavidha Naika Avasthas. Maybe we should just give her a chart.
ma'am, I
of-
noted it down from Google,
Okay.
but
Oh, you
I'm
did.
a
Okay.
little confused about Vipralabdha.
Okay.
And is Akka reserved only for the dancer community, or it
No,
can
no,
be
no.
advised for everybody?
Not at all. Not
Okay,
at
so I
all.
can call you Akka. Part
Absolutely.
of the group. Thank you.
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you
Why
so
not?
much.
Anupama, if you can share those Dishakama Avastha and other things in the group also, that will be
Yes,
nice.
I'm just trying to see from where I should share them, because I have to
And,
take screenshots from the Natashastra and send you otherwise.
And Ashtanaika Avasthas. Just
I
to, to have more about the particular
So
thing.
I'll
We
do
do have
one-
little basics.
I'll do
but
one
still.
thing otherwise. I have a document of the Rasamanjari in which the entire Naika Prakarana is there.
Okay.
The complete Naika Prakarana is there in that. So if you want, I can share that document itself
Yeah.
in the group.
Yeah, that always helps in
The
in
Ashtavidha
developing-
Naika Avasthas are there and all the other Naikas are also there. So if you want that entire thing, I'll share. With you.
Please, that will help
Madam,
us.
even I would like to read Rasamanjari as you told now.
I
Kindly
don't have
share
the
me.
complete Rasamanjari. I only have that Prakarana.
It's okay, ma'am.
That,
It's okay.
that
Thank
part
you
I
so much.
have, that I have it as a document. So
Thank
I'll
you.
just put it on the group. But Radhika, you have to remind me.
We
Yes,
always
I will do
think of performance only.
I'll
na?
do that.
Performance oriented, how you can enhance a performance. So these all will add to all that.
Yes.
Just think about.
Now,
Thank
I've
you.
forgotten about the concept of performance for Geetha Govindam.
Honestly,
But
speaking, sorry,
this
this is
is
Geetha.
such a divine
feel,
experience.
It is extremely difficult to perform this now after hearing you speak about it.
I have never performed an Ashtapadi and I don't have the courage to perform it. I don't know how to perform it because it is so crazy, the whole idea, that I don't know. I mean, I would not want to do the literal meaning of the words anymore.
That is what I was thinking. I've just done this Ahamiha Nivasami, just finished doing it last month. I'm just thinking how rubbishly I've done it.
I'm sure it was not rubbish.
Actually, when this the Kamadev, the Krishna Viram also, I was just recapping when you were saying, "Oh my God, it should have been much better."
Especially Kuruyadu Nandana, it is so terrifying to touch now. Because there are so many principles in it, and honestly, to tell you very honestly, because these are all, you're all dancers and we all know each other also for so many years, most of us. I was also thinking very much to myself when I was researching this and looking at different aspects. Am I overthinking this? Am I overthinking this work? Or am I trying to give connotations to it which actually may not exist in the text? So I have thought so much about that, but every single person I've met connected to this I've met Shakta sadhakas, I've met Krishna Bhakti people, I've met, scholars connected to it. Everyone, whatever inputs I got from anybody only led me to this idea, to this understanding of it. And the fact that Kalidasa is the most celebrated of the Sanskrit poets. But Kalidasa's works don't have 33 commentaries.
Yes.
Geetha Govindam has 33 commentaries. No fictional Prabandha work has that many commentaries. So what are they commentating about? What are they talking about? Everyone has, some aspect. And the second thing that crystallized my thought here is that this was performed as ritual in the temple for over 600-700 years. It came from there right down to Kerala as a ritual worship.
Correct.
Such a blatantly erotic text. Why will you dance it as ritual?
This was the basic question even I had, because why is it being performed in Bhajana Sampradaya so systematically? They never leave it. They have to. If Bhajana Sampradaya is not complete without singing the Ashtapadis,
That was my question.
what
That
is
was
it
my
kept-
question. See, that is because it is an esoteric text. These are all the connotations that is there in the Geetha Govindam. So it is a proper upasana paddhati. The sounds, the way this music, the dhvani and the shabda. So the commentaries, the Rasika Priya commentaries and all that on the Geetha Govindam tells you that the shabda, the sound, you've seen the alliteration of Geetha Govindam. It's one of the most well alliterated texts you can find. Like in Sanskrit texts, that much perfection of rhythm you will not find in any of the other, works of Sanskrit, which are in the song format. The shabda and the artha, it is almost like as if he has created an entire network of sound and meaning, just like you have the Vedic chanting. It is almost like that, the idea. And that Shabda Artha combined with the metaphysics of Krishna Bhakti makes it a devotional text of ritual. It has made it that. So it just goes to show that we are so comfortable with the idea of erotic. The discomfort with erotic has come only in the last 800-900 years. It is a foreign concept. It is a concept that has come from there. The concept of parda or the concept of puritanism or having discomfort with the body is not something which is natural to indigenous cultures. If you see your great-grandmother when she's doing muddy, she'll not wear a blouse. They will not at all be uncomfortable with that idea. They are not conscious of the body. There is a complete unconsciousness about body and complete acceptance of the body principle. And that is not just in our culture. Any of the ancient, if you see the Egyptian, idea, or you see the, any of the pagan-based religions or pagan-based cultures which are indigenous to the soil, which has come from the soil, they are very happy and comfortable with the body principle. See, because we have negated that principle. No, we know that it's Panchabhutas. We know that is all of that. There is no shame component. That is why a text which talks about Sambhoga in such, direct terms can be used as a ritual. That's the beauty of the whole idea. It is only today that we are uncomfortable with that whole thing, and we want to brush it under the carpet, and we want to pretend that it doesn't exist and everything is only bhakti. Only now we have that problem. It is bhakti. It's a bhakti of a different level altogether.
Correct.
But not by negating the body, by completely accepting the body. Because that's the tool, that's the instrument. Everything, if you look at the bowls, you look at anything, They talk about the nadis, they talk about that body is only the instrument, and that instrument only symbolized in the Ektara. Yes. Any more questions?
Yeah, there is one last question. What is Kindu Bilva?
Kindu Bilva is the village in which Jayadeva was born in Orissa. That's the name of the village. So there are two versions. One is called Kenduli, which is in West Bengal. So some people say that is the Kindu Bilva, but actually it has been, Kindu Bilva is basically the village in which Jayadeva is born. Is it because the uncomfortableness? What was that? I missed that ending. Some of the stanzas are omitted in the performance. Yeah, most probably. The same thing happens with Varnams also, no? Some of the Varnams in which there is a lot of Sambhoga being mentioned, only the Swaram is sung and the Sahityam is not sung in some of them. We find that in many Varnams in Bharatanatyam. You know, where the Swaram is...
Tanjore quartet Varnams. The last one especially we don't
Tanjore quartet Varnams, the last one which shows the excessiveness of Sambhoga, the Sahityam is omitted and only the Swaram is sung. Because we have become uncomfortable, no, with that Sambhoga aspect. Okay. Anything more?
No, nothing in the chat box. But if
Does anyone
anybody
want to
has
ask
it, yeah.
One more quick question, Aga.
Yeah.
See, Hari is also the name of Radha because of how did it become the name of Radha as well? Hari. Bijaksharas or?
No, this is not Bijakshara. It's not a Bijakshara concept. This is something which even I don't know, actually, because we don't know what is the etymology that has, made the idea of Hari. I can only connect it to the idea of the Swarupa Shakti and the Hladini Shakti. I can only connect it to that concept because the word Hari has about 24 meanings in the Amarakosha. Just that one word Hari has so many meanings. So for that, we'll have to explore the etymology and then connect the etymology to Krishna Bhakti, to the idea of Krishna Bhakti, for us to understand how the mantra is formulated. Some of it is given in the Brahmavaivartya Puranam, but I think that is dated after Jayadeva. So they must have taken from there. In that, he gives you the Radha mantra, he gives you, the Krishna mantras. So he gives you all those japas, those mantras. So that etymology we have to study. I only know it because the ISKCON people and everyone, they tell you this. When you go to the scholars, they tell you this, actually Hari is the mantra for Radha. But how exactly it is the mantra for Radha, we have to look at the etymology for us to understand. Which is my next project. Which I definitely, for that I have to go and stay in Vrindavan for some time and, try to understand what this whole business is about.
Let us know if you want company.
Sure. I love the company. We can all go. They won't know what hit them. Suddenly so many people landing up there.
I think the Geetha Govindam workshop, we should all make a tour to Vrindavan only.
We should know, because not only the Radha Krishna idea, but the Ashtasakhis.
Yes.
In Vrindavan, you have the Lalita Sakhi, the Vishakha Sakhi, you have all those temples. That will show us very clearly, the connection to the Shakta traditions. Because these are the Ashtama, the Matrikas. It's the Matrikas idea only. You find that in the Vishakha and Lalita and all that. I think in one of the songs I've written it's not there in the Geetha Govindam. He just talks about one Sakhi here, the Yoga Maya, that's it. But somewhere I have written down the names of all those, the primary Sakhis of Radha. These find expression after Geetha Govindam. In the Ujjvala Neelamani of Rupa Goswamin, it completely talks about the Madhura Rasa and this whole Krishna Radha thing with all the Sakhis. All the Sakhis are mentioned in that. It's a later text. It's also available in the Vrindavan publications, in the ISKCON thing, but I don't know whether it's available here in Hyderabad or, I mean, in maybe you'll have to get it there, or you can check online also if it is there. What should I share the link for? Matrika Chakra. Okay.
Matrika Chakra. Yes.
Yes,
I'll
yes.
remind you.
So
This,
Rasamanjari,
Ujjvalamani, sorry.
Matrika Chakra. What else I have to share?
That's
I
all.
think the Rasamanjari has everything, no?
Yeah, Rasamanjari has everything.
Dashakama Avasthas. Dashakama Avasthas, I have to take a picture and send.
Yes.
Okay. You have to remind me. Radhika,
Yes.
I will not remember anything, all this.
Yeah.
Geetha, what were you saying?
Yeah, this Ujjvalamani you're talking about, is that a text?
Ujjvala
or is it also
Neelamani.
set of
Ujjvala Neelamani.
Neelamani
Yeah,
poems
it's a
again?
text. Yeah, it's a text. It's a poetics text, Alankara Shastra, which talks about Krishna as the one Nayaka and Radha and all the other Sakhis as all the various Nayikas. So it's a text on rasa and on poetics and Nayikas, but only from the point of view of Krishna Bhakti.
Okay.
So there are two texts written by Rupa Goswami. One is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which talks about the Bhakti Rasas. For the first time, he crystallizes Bhakti as Rasas. So you have Shanta Bhakti, Vatsalya Bhakti, Madhura Bhakti. From there only it came, that idea. So you have Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and the second text is Ujjvala Neelamani, which is completely based on Madhura Rasa. So Ujjvala Neelamani is available with Sanskrit text and Hindi translation. I think you can just look for it online and see if it's available. I think there is one PDF available in the ISKCON people's website, but that doesn't have the Sanskrit text. It has only the English translation. So that's
Not
of
even
no
the
use.
transliteration, just the translation.
Just the translation is there. Without the original text, we can't really look at that and this and compare notes. So no point.
We'll wait for you to do
Ayyo, Ammo. That's all.
Honestly, speaking, Alec, there's so much into this, which probably many of us, at least I didn't realize, is going to be so much in depth talking about the Geetha Govinda as such.
Yeah, I know. Even I didn't realize. I'm realizing slowly about this crazy
Like,
thing.
the more you talk, there is so much more that you would want to say. It's
no sooner I finish
these
talking
5
about one
days
section, I realize that there is a lot more that we have not yet discussed. So I don't know. I mean, how to resolve this particular text is like madness. 36 tattvas you want, Sneha, of Kashmiri Shaivism?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I see this now? 36 tattvas of Kashmiri Shaivism. Let's see if it's there in that blog which I told you about.
Yeah, I think, you had told that you'll just check the blog. I will remind you.
As far as I remember, the Matrika Chakra is very clearly there in that blog, but I don't know if all the 36 tattvas are there in that or not.
Anupama ji, Anupama?
Yes.
Yeah, if somebody has the Abhinava Bharati, then all the tattvas are there and all the 36 chapters of Abhinava Bharati.
But the problem is Abhinava Bharati English translation will not be there, no, Sujata ji?
No, only the name, if you want, it is in Devanagari, right?
Yes.
Only if you want to know the name, it is there. But I think it will be surely in some website. I will also check.
It should be there. It should
be there in order. If you put like...
I'm thinking it should be there somewhere, some website or somewhere connected to Kashmiri Shaivism. It should surely be there, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I will also check.
Please check, Sujata ji. If it's there, please put it on the group, no?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody is asking, Neha is asking, did Jayadeva write anything else? That
Actually, they say he has written. They say he has written. But I don't know if it's available. Maybe Sujata ji can tell us.
Yeah, not available, but
not available.
Not available.
There are some references to some works that he has made.
Yeah.
But then nothing is available except Geetha Govindam, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we will, I think we'll end the session here. And
okay. So tomorrow, hopefully,
yes,
we'll cover another major chunk of it.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.